Hey there, and welcome back to New Eyes Open Strategic. Today, we are going to talk about 5 things to consider when redesigning your life. My name is Stephanie. If you are new to this channel, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. So glad to have you here. And in the last video, I gave you a little intro about me, who I am. I think I actually probably left out some of it, but I gave you a little of my backstory. I am a single mom entrepreneur who is unschooling her children, and I also am helping other mamas, other dads, parents, especially those with an entrepreneurial spirit who maybe feel stuck, redesign their life and think of all aspects of their life in from a new perspective. And so today we're going to talk about 5 things that, in my opinion, you should consider when you are thinking about redesigning your life. So when I started on this journey back in 2017, I had a full-time job as a teacher at a public charter school. I had just gotten my master's in higher education administration, but decided that that was actually not the path for me. I had this desire to coach and advise college-age students or just people in general, and at the time I thought that working at a college was the only way I could do that. Here we are. There's so many other ways to look at that, so many other ways to do the things that you want to do, and that is actually one of the first things. So 5 things to consider whenever you're redesigning your life. Number 1, who are you? Like, really? Who are you truly? Some of the things that I really had to come to grips with was who I was at my core and whether I wanted to continue to identify that way or I wanted to change. Because sometimes the changes we want to make in our life require a new identity. It requires us to adopt a whole new identity. And oddly enough, what I have come to understand, and some people may argue this with me, I believe we're not actually adopting a new identity. It just seems new because we've been so conditioned to believe that we are our conditioned selves. So the things that society has told us we're supposed to be and we have agreed to be that have become part of our identity, we actually need to shed identities that aren't true to ourselves and start to remember who we truly are. So some of the tools that were helpful with this, number 1, meditation. Like, seriously, get still, be still. Ask God to show you who you are, to remind you of who you are and who you're meant to be. Look at the patterns in your life, the things that come natural to you, and feel good. Look at the things that are patterns in your life and come natural to you but don't feel good, and ask yourself, do they not feel good because I feel this guilt from society telling me that they shouldn't feel good, or do I actually not like that pattern in my life? Is it not propelling me forward towards wherever I want to go? Another thing, I am a personality assessment junkie. I love all the personality tests. Like, I've done all of them. I've done the Myers-Briggs, INFJ. I have done, Enneagram. I do not like it. I know there's a lot of Enneagram fans, and bless you, I've gotten a different score or been typed differently all 4 times I've done it, and I don't think it's for me. One day I may invest and have somebody, actually a professional type me, but I think I'm beyond that now. But when I was first getting started, first in this discovery phase of like, okay, what do I really want my life to look like? Another tool that was really helpful for me was the, oh my gosh, I can't remember the name. Strength Finder. Okay. Sorry, guys. Real life here. So Strength Finder was it was confirming. In case you want to know, my five strengths, according to Strengths Finder, are connection. Yeah. And that means connecting people and also connecting ideas. So seeing patterns and being able to make connections between different patterns or seemingly things that seemingly aren't connected, being able to make connections between them. It's probably why teaching came very natural to me. Empathy is my other one. Intellection is another one, intellect. So just researching things, big on that. Individuation is another thing. And so that is one of the reasons that I have gone into coaching, consulting, and mentorship, and also why I was the type of teacher I was, because individuation is, seeing all the options for someone else and helping them decide what's best for them. What about this situation, what's the best scenario for them? And then, of course, if I'm going to forget the fifth one, it's on my website. You can go to neostrategic.org and look at the About page to see what my fifth one is, because I can't think of it right now. Another two tools that have helped me a lot in just understanding a little bit more about who I am and validating who I am, and then helping me identify how I use my energy and how I'm meant to move through the world, have been human design and gene keys. I really like both of those. And yeah, human design was really helpful in showing me how I am meant to use my energy and helping me identify the patterns of how I use it in inefficient ways, or ways that I allow myself to get sucked into situations that are really not meant for me. And so that in and of itself was a game changer. I am a 5-1 generator, so 5-1s are the investigator heretics. Here to shake things up and do a lot of research to make sure that we're shaking them up the right way. So that is, and in case you don't know by now, like my whole thing is making sure that kids are able to grow up being their truest selves. And so as a parent, I actually use human design and gene keys to guide the way that I parent each of my children and the way that I communicate with my partner and with my children as well. And it has been mind-blowingly game-changing. Once I started doing that, it was just like, I don't want to say it's been completely smooth sailing, but it's been a lot smoother than it ever was before. And then gene keys is an extenuation and an extension of human design. It was built off of the same system, and they both were built off of the I Ching, which is a Chinese system. And it all kind of ties into astrology and just energy systems. And so coming from a conservative Christian background and being a follower of Christ, I had a little trepidation at first of diving into these systems, but the more that I've dove into them, the more that I believe they just support and reaffirm my faith rather than contradict it or take me away from it. So I'm choosing to lean into it. Gene Keys is a poetic translation of human design, is the way I would say it. I like to think of one of them as the yin and the other as the yang version of describing your personality and who you were created to be, and the whole basis of the system. And this is where Christianity, I think, ties in as well, is if you look at all of humanity as the body, in the Bible it says the body of Christ, but just as this one living body, if we are a liver cell, we should not be acting in the world as a skin cell, because that's not who we are. And every cell in the body needs to function in the way that it was meant to function, in order for the whole body to function the right way, in a balanced way. And so that's where I feel like it's beautiful to lean into these newer systems that are also backed by science as well. And yes, it's, metaphysics, so I'm not here to debate any of it. I'm just telling you what has worked for me. So getting to know yourself, getting to know how you work in the world and who you're meant to be in the world is first and foremost to consider when redesigning your life. Y'all love the birds. They're competing. They have such beautiful songs. All right. So once you have started to dig deep and decide, and remember who you really are by looking at these different, personality systems or personality assessments, different energy systems, another thing I would really encourage you to do is think back to when you were a child. What were you like when you were 5, 9, 13, even 17? Like back when you thought you were invincible and you could do anything, what did you want to do? What did you think was right for you? What did you do? What did you do for fun? What did you rebel against? Yeah. So that's another thing. And then, let's see, I have some notes so that I'll remember all these. What do you value? I will do a whole other video on this, but what do you value truly? A lot of us say that we value family, and yet if we are being really, really honest, how often do you spend quality time with your family? How much of your thought process goes into thinking about who you want your kids to be down the road and actually taking action today to be that person so that they have an example to look up to? Another thing a lot of us say that we value is honesty, and yet every single day I can point out ways to you that people are lying to themselves, saying that they value one thing and their actions speak a whole different story. And so that ultimately is why I left teaching. I said I valued education, but day after day I went and I worked in a system where children were not allowed the time to truly learn the basics. And without a base level, foundational level of knowledge, how can they go on to learn other things in life? And so just the having time to be kids and to build up foundational skills was not happening. And so I could no longer live with myself saying that I valued education, and yet I was actively part of a system that I do not feel truly promotes education. And I know it's hugely debatable. Come at me. We'll have it out or not. Actually, I'm not here to fight with anybody. I'm here to share my own experience, and if it's for you, great. If it's not, please just find another channel. Yeah. Enough on that. Another thing to think about when you're redesigning your life is, what are you willing to let go of? This is a big one. This is a big one. And a warning here, when you decide to start letting go of things, you will probably be asked to let go of even more than you bargained for. At least that was my experience. The promise on the other side of that, well, not a promise. I can't promise you anything, but my experience on the other side of that is my life is quite magical compared to what it was, despite all the things that I had to let go of. And I mean, I had to let go of quite a bit. I sold like 85 to 90% of our belongings. Let go of living in a community with people who had become my family, because at the time, my partner at home was not a safe place to go. So my work family had become my safe place, and those are the people I spent a lot of my time with. And I had to let them go. Not completely, we still keep in touch, but it's different. It's different doing life every day together versus a phone call or a text, once in a blue moon. I had to let go of this idea that I had built around myself, that success meant a full-time job, a house, a car, all these things that I had checked off the boxes. And then eventually, I didn't think that this was something I was going to let go of, but I was forced into letting go of the idea of being married and the spouse that I had strived to build a life with. Letting him go and letting any dreams of the family, the type of family I thought we were going to be, I had to let that go too. So that's something else to ask yourself. Not saying, maybe you and your spouse or partner are rock solid and, redesigning your life together is just going to be this beautiful, magical experience. That's awesome. That was not my experience. And on the flip side, my partner now really is a dream. I realize now I didn't even know what it meant to be loved by somebody else until I met him, and it's so completely beautiful and different that I have had to talk myself out of running away from it multiple times, because it didn't feel real or comfortable at moments, because it was too good. And that's a whole nother topic that we can get into at a different time. But yeah, learning how to let go of the idea that I had to strive to be worthy, strive to be successful, letting go of my idea of what successful even meant. You know what? You are here and you are living and you are breathing. You exist. That in and of itself makes you worthy. Now, the choices that you make definitely reflect what you have, around you and before you and ahead of you. And I do believe that we're here to contribute and make things better than what they were when we got here, or at least do our part however we feel called. But still, existing, noticing the moment, being still in the moment, and being grateful just to exist. Yeah, you're worth that. All right, another thing to think about. Everybody loves this one. What resources do you have? I was a teacher. I was married to someone who made half of what my salary was. So resources, we had to dig deep for this one. And we did. Like I said, we sold 90% of our stuff. So what resources do you have available? And think creatively with this one. Also think about what resources do you have available within. What are your skills? What are your talents? What skills have you developed, in your past that maybe you don't use currently? What skills do you want to develop? If you can learn, that's a resource. You can learn to do just about anything. Trust me, I taught myself to build my first website. I have pretty much, I taught myself how to do a lot of things, set up a Shopify store by myself, learned how to be a single mom on my own. There's all kinds of things that I have taught myself. Pretty much anything I've wanted to do, I just go out and start researching how to do it. And there are resources out there. YouTube is a huge library full of free resources. Plus, there are plenty of resources that people have created to make shortcuts for you. So, online courses, consulting, coaching programs, mentorship, all of that can speed up the time. But if you are low on finances and have a little more time on your hands, then little by little, you can research and learn and teach yourself pretty much anything you want to do. And yes, I realize when I say teach yourself and you're looking things up on YouTube, other people are teaching you, but you are motivating yourself to look it up. That's what I mean. Anyways, all right. Here's two of the fun things that you should consider. What do you want to experience in life? Like, what have you not? There's a reason you want to redesign your life. There are experiences that you are either having that you do not want to have any longer, or there are experiences that you want to have, that your heart longs to have, that you just don't see how they're going to happen. Redesigning your life is all about thinking about these experiences and how you're going to make them happen. And so one of those things for me was one of the synchronicities that happened when I started my meditation and gratitude practice, and then started, incorporating more of what I wanted in my life, more nature, more time with my kids, just in those little pockets outside of work, making it work however I could. There's a bee. One of the synchronicities that happened was a longtime friend of the family called me, and he was an older gentleman, and he had recently gone on a national park tour with his wife, and they were, up there in years. I knew for a fact they had, some joint issues and stuff. And we were talking about his trip, and I made the comment, this was back in 2017. I made the comment that, I would love to do that one day with my girls, like just go see one of those parks. Because at that time, I really hadn't traveled a whole lot other than in my home state and to see my ex's family. And that's pretty much where our travel budget went every year, was, just a short trip in our own state and then a bigger trip down to visit his family, usually around Christmas time each year. But I longed to go visit, all these, I wanted to go out west. Like, my dream as a child was to grow up and live in either Montana, Wyoming, or Texas on a ranch, a cattle ranch with horses. That was my dream. I left that dream behind when I had kids and became the responsible parent, paying the bills, blah, 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 until, the day I crushed my finger. And I had set my sights back on that dream, or at least a version of it, and had been trying to figure out, like, how do we buy land? How do we at least start a homestead, And anyways, logically, I knew that homesteading meant no more travel, and there were these places I still really wanted to see before that happened. So in my mind, it was like, I got to do this now before we settle down on a homestead. Once again, limited thinking. There are ways around that. We can talk about that in one of your sessions if you want some help with that. But this family friend said, he was like, Stephanie, it was the most amazing experience, but we could only, drive up to the little scenic, the turnouts, like they could pretty much only tour the parks driving. And he said he wished that he had taken time when he was younger so that he could actually get out on the trails and enjoy seeing some of the more remote areas of the different parks, like the youngsters he saw who, were launching off into these hiking trails. And he got real serious and he said, Stephanie, if there's any way to make it happen, make it happen. Because I started a business when I was younger than you and just poured everything into that business, and it provided for my family and it's provided for a nice retirement. But I wish I would have taken more time when I was your age, when I was able-bodied, when my kids were younger and I could have experienced it with them, to go see more places in this world, go see more of God's natural beauty and actually be able to be in it and, truly walk amongst it and enjoy it. And so that became my new goal. I was like, all right, how do we make this travel adventure happen? And that was the very beginning of planning out our gap year. I just got the wheels turning. I started asking how to make this experience that I wanted to happen. And the idea at the time was, hey, we will go out west, tour these different parks in these different states, and at the same time assess which of these areas we want to relocate to and want to buy some land and start a homestead in, like redesign our life. Where do we want to restart? That was the idea. It didn't happen that way, but we did go on the trip. It was amazing. We made lots of beautiful memories together, not as many with my ex as I would have liked, because I'd tell everybody, he was spiraling downward and I was spiraling upward during this time. And as much as I tried to pull him up with me, it didn't happen. And that's that. So all that to say, what do you want to experience in this life? That is a big thing to consider. If you're going to redesign your life, like, you may as well redesign it to be what you want it to be, right? Now that you're actually consciously and intentionally going after the kind of life you want to live, well, what experiences do you want to have in it? And so one of my experiences was I wanted to homeschool my kids, which eventually morphed into unschooling my kids, which essentially just means living life with my kids alongside. And I wanted to help other adults. I wanted to be, at the time, I wanted to be a life coach, but I honestly don't resonate with that term very much. I think because all my years I grew up playing basketball, and so to me, coach is like somebody who's standing on the sideline yelling at you, and you don't need anybody to yell at you. You are fully capable of coaching yourself through life, actually, but it is nice to have someone to bounce ideas off of, someone who has gone before you to look back and kind of guide you or mentor you along the way. So that's kind of why I use all the terms: mentor, consultant, and guide. And it depends on what aspect of this life journey do you need help with. If you need help with starting a business and your business operations set up, well, then I'm going to be a consultant, because I'm going to tell you the best practices that I have learned by, working with Alex Sharfin, who is the person in this space. Natalie Gingrich, they're both great operations experts. I've worked with both of them, and I'm also going to tell you, different ways that it's worked for different clients of mine or other entrepreneurs I've worked with in one capacity or another. If you want a mentor, if you're a mom or a dad and you're going through homeschool stuff and you want somebody to mentor you through, who's been there before, who's gone through some of these things before, who is I was a certified teacher. I let that license go because I will not ever work in a public government institution again. I'll knock on someone on that, but I won't. And I have a master's in education and higher education administration, so I do have that background knowledge, and I'm able to mentor you if you're wanting to create a unique learning path for your child. So, and I like to use the word wayfinder too, because when we are opening our eyes to new ways of living life, it can feel a little bit like being tossed around in the open sea, right? And what you have to do is find your way to, where is your true north? And sometimes it helps to have somebody who knows how to ask the right questions to get you to find your true north, and so that you can coach yourself and you can guide yourself forward. So in that way, I feel a bit like a wayfinder, helping you navigate the seas of change. And then, the last thing that you need to think about whenever you're considering redesigning your life is, when do you want to start? And I would say to that, just if you have made it to this point in this video, you have already started. So pat yourself on the back. You have already made progress. You are starting the process of redesigning your life if you're even just considering a new way of living, a new way of learning, a new way of working. And I am so super excited for you. This is an exciting time. It is really a beautiful process. Won't necessarily be simple, won't necessarily be easy, but it is beautiful. And so if you would like somebody to help you along that journey, I am here to help you dream big, plan for adventure, and enjoy the ride of your life. So if you, whether that just means following us along, give this video a thumbs up if it resonated with you, if you got some value out of it. Follow along by subscribing if that feels right for you. And if you would like more one-on-one hands-on support, then I would love to work with you, and I have options to work together asynchronously through Marco Polo video chats. So you can, you can send your chat at 2 a.m. in the morning whenever you just really need to get those thoughts off your mind, and I will send you a video response right back as soon as I can the next day, the next working day. Or we can set up a one-on-one Zoom call. I have lots of options open for that. Some of them are very non-traditional hours, because I know that if you are right now in a more traditional style of work and life, that 9 to 5 calls just might not work for you. So I do have some that are outside of that typical time frame, and then I do also hold calls one Saturday every month to accommodate for those of you that Saturdays work best. And so with that said, I would love to hear from you. Leave me any questions, comments below. I'll make more videos based on whatever questions you guys have. And if you are interested in working together, I'll put a link below for that as well, but you can also go to my website anytime, neostrategic.org, and fill out the application to work together. Just let me know what you're interested in and what works best for you. And yeah, either way, even if you can't, I'll be honest, for most of the time that I was going through this life transition process, I could not afford to work with somebody. And so if that's the case, I am still open to meeting with you. I would love to get to know you, connect. I do have 30-minute coffee chats that are available. We don't have to use the whole 30 minutes, but it's a space, a container where we can meet, get to know each other face to face, and you can ask whatever your most pressing question is at this time, and I will do my best to either answer it on the spot or send you some resources, either stuff that I've created, or I have a huge network of people that are amazing at supporting individuals in different aspects of their life, whether it be starting a business, you know, or living differently, just all kinds of things. So I'd love to hook you up. All right. Thank you so much for listening in, and until the next time, be well and just be. Get out in nature, enjoy life, remember to breathe, take time, be still, and just be. All right. I'll see you next time. Bye.